Can you do van life as a solo van lifer? Because being on long trips or trying to do this full time is different from being with someone else, being out doing this as a couple. And I've done it both ways. So we're going to talk about the differences and what it's like when you're doing these trips alone. Let's get to it. Now, a lot of this is going to depend on you, whether you're going to be happy with this life, these trips, and how much interaction you need with other people to make you happy. If you're the type of person that's going to be in a campground every night, then you're at least going to have people around, and you're going to have people out walking their dogs, and, you know, people to sit out and say hi to and possibly strike up a conversation with. And some places doing that are just much easier than other places doing that. I don't know why. It's just a different vibe in different national forest campgrounds or state park campgrounds. And even stuff that's 5 miles from each other can have a completely different vibe. And one can be set up that makes it really hard to meet people. And the next place may be set up to where it's really easy to meet people and meet your neighbors and invite somebody over for a cup of coffee or the campfire or whatever and interact with people. But it depends on the type of person you are, how much interaction you need. Because one of the things that people don't plan for, especially I think a lot of younger people, they jump in their van and they take off on these adventures by themselves, and they get lonely. And they get lonely and homesick fast. Because they're used to being around a bunch of friends, and it's just not that way on the road. There are times that you will meet friends and make friends and interact with people for a few days at a time. You may even choose to travel together for a little period of time and go from place to place to place. But eventually, people are going to break off, and you're going to be alone again. And that may be for a day. That may be for days at a time. I'm all right with that. I have no problem with it. There's sometimes I actually prefer that. I want a few days away from everybody just to be by myself. But again, not everybody is geared to be able to do that. And if that's not your personality, and if that's not your lifestyle, that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. As long as you understand it before you get out and you're 1,000 miles away from home in the middle of nowhere. So you've got to know what you're going to do to be a little more outgoing, something that's going to allow you to be around other people. It may be in those camping type situations again, or it may be just going out and adventuring and going into small towns and meeting people, meeting the locals. Whether it's at libraries or whether it's at a coffee shop or whether it's at, wherever people congregate in that particular town for breakfast time, or just little antique shops and places that you're going to be able to strike up conversations with people. Sometimes that's enough to keep somebody from feeling completely isolated and being completely lonely on the road. And when you have that need and you've been alone for a while, and now you have that need coming up to have some interaction with other humans, don't fight it. Go and do it, because the important thing is you being on the road and being happy while you're on the road. And if you start trying to fight things like that and change your entire lifestyle, you're not going to change your personality and the way you look at things overnight. It's not going to happen, and you're going to be unhappy, and you're going to want to pack it in and go home and never do this again. So it's all about finding that balance of what's going to work for you. I know people that can be by themselves for weeks at a time. I honestly can't do that. I lean more towards being the type, I'm going to be out adventuring and trying to find some abandoned stuff and see something I've never seen before. But I'm also going to have some interactions with people, and I'm going to have that, pretty much every couple of days somewhere. That's just my personality. That's what balances things out for me and keeps me happy. But like all other things, it's a potential problem. But it's better to head that potential problem off and have a game plan for it before it ever happens. Before you drive 800 miles into the middle of Utah where there's nobody around you for 40 miles and all of a sudden you're freaking out because you are as alone as you ever been in your lifetime, and the only other living thing that you can find for 15 miles in any direction is some cow named Murray that you saw walking around. So you don't want to be to that extreme. You want to get your feet wet and kind of figure this out along the way, and again, find that balance that's right for you. So hopefully this gave you something to think about when you're out doing van life and you're cruising around in your Class B or your full-size cargo van you converted or your minivan that you converted. It's what you're going to do for dealing with potential isolation, for dealing with loneliness. Because if you have a little bit of a plan, it won't be an issue. You'll be able to be with people when you want to. You'll be able to be by yourself pretty much when you want to. And you'll be happy and enjoying the traveling and the trip that you're on. And that is the name of the game. As always, anything I can ever do for you, anything I can cover and talk about that will help you out, any questions that you have, always put those down in the comments. I read all the comments. I respond to all I can. Sometimes there's too many and I can't, but I do read everything. We'll see what we can do to get you on the way to your adventures. We'll talk soon.